Action activate! Let's rock it!
What the heck is that thing?
I think it's an action activate. Ha!
Here we come!
There they go.
People rise! Cause they know we're super soldiers! We got cool clothes. You real smooth when you see our pose. Hang shit! Energize! Mask off! Time to ride! Combine! Grease ties! Side beam!
Greetings, programs! Welcome back to Action Activate. Of course, I am Mr. Gazbot, and with me, as always,
Sore Big Dawg Defender.
Big Dog. Why are you sore?
Well, I was moving a bunch of stuff this weekend, but also I wanted to put a little extra flair on like a sir. There's a lot of sirs in this world. I am sore. Sore Big Dawg Defender.
Oh, wow. That is terrible, and I hate it.
Well, it's a good thing that that's the only thing that's terrible and that you're gonna hate in this episode.
If you say so. Let's say hi to
Wow.
chat. We got The Real Babu, we got Matt Kendall Clare, we got Van Illustration. Hello to everybody. Welcome aboard. Hello to Iron CNSP Man. And, oh, I thought you weren't going to be able to make the live show, so welcome. I'm glad you could make it. Up there in that corner is my headshot I did of Psycho Blue, which is not new, but the intro was by Mr. Wally Wingert, who is Psycho Blue, who I did do an interview with at Ranger Stop, and it is up now on the YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, I advise you go check it out. It was a fun one, and he was the one that was in the beginning of the intro here. He did the voice of Psycho Blue, but he's mostly known as a voice actor, and he's done tons and tons of stuff. There's no chance you haven't seen a show that he's been on. Otherwise, normally I would have either rotating headshots I've finished here or a new headshot I'm working on. I haven't been working on headshots, but I've been doing a lot of warm-up headshots, like just like half hour, not like finished art. So I decided I'd throw one of those up, and and once again it's in the middle instead of good. There, I think I've maybe restarted it. Yes, I did. But the reason it's relevant to our interests here is because it is the new Vanilla Megazord from the recently announced Super Sentai season that's coming up.
Yep.
Kira Mazin, I believe, is the name of the series, and he's, I think, Kira Mazin or something like that. It's like a Mazin. I remember, I forgot it already. I used to know it. But anyway, he sort of looks Tron and glowy, and I thought he was cool, so I did him one day as a warm-up. And this is, like, the one that I'm seeing the toy of is sort of like the full 5 mode. This is the 3 mode, the more vanilla, which is usually the ones I like better, and this is no exception. So that's what's going on up there.
Yup.
But we are here. Oh, let's see. Iron Man probably for last week for a while. I can only stay for. Well, we're happy to have you as much as we can, and of course, you can always catch up on YouTube later. I'll throw those links up just in case
Very true.
anybody needs them. And yeah, but we're here today. Last week we talked about Crimson Vision Studios and the fan films, specifically the Power Ranger fan films they did. This week we are still talking about fan films, but we are talking about Unworthy Productions.
Yes, sir.
And actually, let me pull up their. I couldn't find like a specific logo. This is like the best I could come up with, I think, for our logo for them. Which is, it's not that it's not a logo, but Crimson Vision Studios, it applied to all their films. This seems to be just applying to Power Rangers. And Power Rangers Unworthy, they have only Power Ranger films and one Arrow film, which I thought was funny because Crimson Vision had a bunch of Flash and Arrow as well, and it's like, oh, there's something going on here. Like, people that like Power Rangers like the CW shows, which, you know, the superheroes, Tokusatsu, makes sense, but specifically that it was Arrow I thought was kind of funny. Oh, nice, Hyperforce. Good job, CNSP man. Little Hyperforce icons throwing up over there.
Nice.
So we're going to talk about them. Is there anything we want to talk about before, or do you want to just jump right into it, or how do you want to proceed?
I have a funny little thing before that
Okay.
Iron CNSP Man may enjoy, so I'll say it now.
Okay.
So this weekend, my fiance went to San Diego,
Mhm.
and when she was down there, she saw something at a little shop down there and decided to surprise me with a gift. So shout out to California Sock Company, and not sure the name of the gentleman that helped her there, but shout out to you.
Okay.
Hopefully you get to watch this either now or on YouTube at some point, because she did bring up the show. So
Oh, nice.
props there. But
Welcome.
they obviously have socks because they're a sock company.
Sure.
And she went, "Oh my gosh, my fiance loves Power Rangers. Where's your section for that?" He's like, "Oh, I'm actually a big Power Rangers fan as well. I actually know more Power Rangers information than most
Sock
people should.
information.
She's like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. My fiance also knows a lot about Power Rangers and brought up the show, and he was kind of helping her out, asking what socks caught her eye, thing like that. And she was like, oh, well, we're kind of like Kimberly and Tommy, and some photos we do in cosplay. So that, and he props to you, whoever you are.
Oh
I hope I
boy.
get to find out your name. He goes, which Tommy is
Nice.
he? And I was like, oh my God, thank you. So his was a little more dialed down, obviously, because of the selection. He was asking if it was
It's Real
Mighty
Babu
Morphin
wants to know
White.
if it's Operation Overdrive socks, which I also was wondering. So I know you'll be a
No.
little disappointed that it's not Operation Overdrive, but please
Definitely
continue.
not Overdrive socks. If you find adult Overdrive socks, I will happily wear them. I
I
won't
know.
purchase them, but I will happily wear them.
Of course, it's your favorite season, but please continue.
So she was like, oh well, and she was telling me she really thought about it, because she like second guessed it for a second. She's like, well, like I gotta go green. He's like, okay, so I got boom, Mighty
Oh
Morphin
yeah,
green socks.
nice. Now, did she
Um,
guess correctly?
Yeah, well, we've
Because I
cosplayed.
kind of thought you were more of a White Ranger guy than a Green Ranger guy.
Well, the thing I like about Green Ranger is Green Ranger is how most people know Tommy.
Mhm.
He had a much stronger arc, in my opinion, because of the ups and downs of
Oh,
it, and it wasn't
yeah.
always sure. And I love the Dragon Shield. The Dragon Shield's just so cool.
I mean, you don't have
that
to sell me. I prefer green to white, hands down. I think it's a better Zord. I think it's a better costume. I thought it was a better character arc. But I thought I remember at some point you talking about how you actually like white a bit better because that was like the one you grew up with more.
I grew up with both. I distinctly remember that as a kid, I went to one of my friends' houses at the time. They were older than me by a couple years, and we were all hanging out, us kids, and our parents were friends. And they had a VHS of either one or multiple parts of Green with Evil,
Right.
and they were well past that. They were in the Power Rangers, cool, it's on TV. Okay, I'm over it. Whereas I am here now.
Yeah.
And they gave me the video, and I was just so stoked to watch. And I had already seen it, obviously.
let
but
me ask
just
you.
rewatching it.
Let me ask you another way then. If she had picked white, would that have also been a correct answer?
I mean,
So
there's
there was
no
no
wrong
answer. Okay, I guess that
Yeah.
was what I was getting for.
When I think of us as Tommy and Kimberly, quote unquote, I
Right.
think of me as the Green Ranger.
Sure. Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because by the time he was white, it would be with Cat, if anything.
No, he got the Dear John when he was a White Ranger.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Okay, fair enough. Did she get herself a pair of pink?
She did.
Nice.
She
Iron,
showed me after. I was like, ah, all right, cool.
Iron CNS P-Man said, order, I think it should be green, would clearly go at the end. I mean, I guess he's saying green socks is what he's picking, or otherwise I'm not sure
Maybe?
what he's referring
I
to.
don't know.
If it was green socks, good guess. If not, then please clarify.
Yeah.
So good job with the socks. Actually, I have a purchase which I'm not super stoked about. Well, not that
Oh.
it's a bad thing. No, I got the Lightning Collection. This is from not including the ones that are just coming out. This is the last
Yeah.
one I needed. But the reason I'm not stoked is if you look, I got it at GameStop, which means I paid $22.99, and I shouldn't have. I haven't seen it at a store. I was waiting for it to go on sale. A bunch of the others went on sale, and I started getting nervous. It was going to get hard to get. And they
Yeah.
had one, and I impulse bought it. And then later I looked online, and you can still get it on Amazon for 20. So I'm like,
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm not happy to have the figure, but I was like, oh, I got impulsive and spent $3 more than I had to for no reason. Iron,
So,
go ahead,
I was gonna say I'll read his comment in a
go
sec.
for it.
So Gaz and I have differences of opinion on GameStop.
Mhm.
My opinion as of now,
Mhm.
January 20th, 2020, is only buy Power Rangers at GameStop if A, they're on sale and cheaper than everywhere else, or
Right.
B, an exclusive to GameStop and you don't pre-order them because it's a whole fiasco. Take your chances and get it there. 9 times out of 10, in my opinion, you will be fine. And don't stress even a modicum more than you need to when it comes to GameStop and Power Rangers.
I could talk about this more, but I feel like we're really far into the show and haven't even started talking about the Unworthy. So let's just drop everything and get into it.
Iron Cetus P-Man said, in reference to Hyperforce in the team order,
hmm
in regards to Green, that Green would go at the end
Oh,
if
gotcha.
there was a little
Fair. Okay.
mascot of it.
Emoji.
Yeah.
All right.
But
so,
you're right. Let's get into
Yes.
Unworthy
Now-
because I am excited.
now here's the problem. Last time I basically just showed trailers. They only have one trailer. So, but I want to show a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play like the first minute or so of the first episode. It's a 10-minute episode. I don't want to show the whole thing, but just to give people an idea
Yep.
of what we're talking about. So let me pull that up on the other screen here. Get it ready. All
To
right.
be fair, also, I don't know if you planned on it. I think we should show the trailer for episode 3
Oh
toward
yeah,
the end.
absolutely. Well, no, I
Okay,
forgot about
good.
that trailer. No, trailers I show, but I don't want to show full episodes. So I'm gonna
No,
kind
yeah,
of
I got you.
But I realized I kind of messed something up here because I forgot to set it up. Let me see if I got it right. Oh, nope, I think I got it right. Okay, if I did it right, it'll start playing behind us right now. So this will be the beginning of the first episode of Power Rangers Unworthy from Unworthy Productions. Hey, there we go. It's working.
You'll never win.
Oh, Jason,
So
I've already won.
it basically seems like it's a live-action Shattered Grid at first, except worse for the Rangers.
Yeah.
The resistance has been crushed, Lord Draken.
They were fools to think they stood a chance against me.
I
They
always
were
love
unworthy
right out
of
of the
being
gate.
called
Get some good
Power
action.
Rangers. Prepare the sentries for another world breach.
Yes, my lord.
I never noticed he had a D monogram on it. Is that in the comic?
I'm not sure.
I've got some movement over.
My first thought when I saw this guy was like, oh, it's like an upgraded Robo Knight or something, you know?
Johnny Oliver of Earth 193. You abused the powers of the Morphin Grid. You've betrayed it, corrupted it. For your crimes, the grid must be purged.
All right, that's a minute. I'm going to stop. I don't want to keep going too far.
Yep.
But yeah, this guy, I saw him and I thought he was pretty awesome. He's called the Arbiter. But you said something when it was rolling that I didn't quite hear. You said, I always thought something looked cool, you said?
Something evil
about this-
characters look
oh,
cool. Like
yeah.
evil rangers.
Oh yeah, I like the red, visors and stuff, and the Mastodon sentries. I will say though, most of them had some version of a realistic-looking gun with maybe color changes or something. But that
Yeah.
female black sentry they just showed, I'm pretty sure she had a paintball gun. It looked like an old-fashioned spider or something.
Oh, what color was it? Because I'm delayed from you.
Oh, actually, I'll back up because it's something we've already shown. So, oops. Yeah, so I don't mind showing it again. And whatever, props are props, but
Yeah.
oh no, it's further back.
Stood a chance against.
But I used to play paintball a lot, and I remember having
Yeah.
my friend had a spider. I can't get a good shot of it. You know what? I think they show it better later on, so I don't want to. It doesn't matter.
I think they do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, though, if it is a spider paintball gun. The rest are, for sure, airsoft guns that reminded me of, I'm sure they were cross-used from, like, a Deadshot cosplay or something from Suicide Squad because of the colors. But either way, I think
Right.
it was really cool.
Agreed.
And one thing that's cool about Unworthy, as we kind of jump into talking about it, is because of the way that it is structured, you could do whatever you want, and there's no reason to go for or against it. It's all preference, and you could love some parts, you could hate some parts, and there's so many opportunities and unknowns because of the way it's structured that
Right.
that's one of my favorite parts is multiversal possibilities.
Yeah, and we see that right away because we start with like the quote unquote normal Power Rangers.
94, I think, is
Yeah,
what they call
and then
it, or
I mean,
93.
it's not much of a spoiler. The Unworthy Power Rangers are from Earth 218, and they're like the heroes of this story, and they have slightly modified suits, which I have seen back at Power Morphicon. I remember seeing those cosplayers around, and kind of loosely knew it was tied to some fan film thing, but like
Yeah.
that's what this is. So I think it's smart that they wanted to be kind of the Mighty Morphin Rangers, but they gave it their own spin, and then said, "Hey, we're from another dimension." So kind of going back to like the actors playing the same roles. Sometimes it's hard. It makes it easier that they're not supposed to be the exact same people. And we are
Yeah.
missing some chat here, so let me check real quick. Bril Babu, evil is cool. Truth. Iron Scene is PMN. So I'm not a fan of the original suits, as the Unworthy team seems like it needs to be more bulkier, of less color. Also, as the fake Shadow that I hate. And as for Arbiter, I think he needs more color with how detailed it is. Yeah, I've heard mixed things on the Unworthy suits, which actually we didn't see. So I'm going to skip ahead a little just so people could see the Unworthy suits.
I really like the Unworthy suits.
I don't mind them, but I absolutely see what he's saying. Here's just
Yeah.
a group. Oops, did not scroll the way I wanted it to. Well, there's one of them. You can see they kind of have the helmets are almost like the sentries, where they have the no lips and it's just sort of a faceplate.
Yeah.
I cannot find it. Well, there. I'll just stop there. And then the suits are sort of they look like sublimation dye where there's like they're not sewn together different colors, but it's just printed, and they have a little bit of shading or whatever, but it's not where they're doing fake muscles or something. That I really don't like when people do that. I mean, if it's a cosplayer, that's fine, but like in a show like this, I understand the complaints. It doesn't bother me as much as it does some people. I like the design. I mean, would it be cooler if it had more pieces and it wasn't just like a one-piece suit? Sure, probably, but what are you gonna do? You have
I
no...
think no. The thing that made me appreciate it more is
Thanks for the follow,
as
Jay.
Oh, thank you. As I watch this and obviously Crimson Vision and some of the past ones, I always keep it in a frame of mind of if I were to make this with Gaz, what would my bar be of what I would like for kind of bang for the buck?
Right.
And obviously these, because it's a trademark property, you're within a very different scope than if you were to do your own independent project that you can sell more merchandise for.
Sure.
So for this, I definitely understand the constraints, and considering that and how they had their own unique take while keeping it familiar, I love the design. I don't know if that suit design is something they came up with themselves or kind of did a kick-ass kind of thing where they found something existing and then turned it into this and made it their own, or what?
I don't know for 100% sure, but I'm like 99% sure they did not find this. They were created, and partially just because it fits too perfectly to have just randomly found 5 colors, but also looking at the credits, the main person behind this, and obviously it's a team effort, but the person credited as creator, writer, producer is Jordan Barnett, and he also is credited as doing costumes and props, and plays the Blue Ranger. So he's the main guy.
He's doing everything.
So I'm assuming he designed these costumes or hired someone to design these costumes, or it'd be weird if they didn't, considering that it's not too far from the original. I'd be interested if they found them. Then that's weird too, because they're trying to make their own brand. And if it's like, oh, I could just go into a shop, an anime cosplay shop online and find these suits, it would kind of take away from it a little bit. There's some more chat that we missed. Let me see. Real deviation. I don't know what that means. Is that? Yeah, I don't know if that's a typo or a reference I'm not getting or some troll bait. So I'm gonna skip it. And if you want to clarify, please type it again. Real deviation. Dolly Girl 15. Hello, welcome aboard. Iron CSP Man says, without spoilers, the new suit in episode 3 is really cool. We are gonna watch the trailer for episode 3, so we can comment on it then. Helmets are fine. And then we got the follow from Jaybird, thank you. And Iron Scene Experience says, I hate Fake Shadow because I went to a con where a cosplayer had a bunch and it was my first time seeing it and it hurt my eyes. Well, again, I'm not going to worry too much about people that are at conventions just having fun. And I'm also not trying to judge these people too much, but I do judge people putting a fan film out higher than a cosplayer at a convention. Just like I judge an actual TV show on, that has a budget more than a fan film.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about episode 1. I talked last week how I said I thought maybe I had seen it, and I did see it like a while ago. Maybe it was after Morphicon, and I remember watching the beginning where they fight Draken, and then they transition to the other world where the Unworthy Rangers are fighting putties, and I stopped watching it around there. And I know that because when I started watching, I'm like, oh, I remember this, and then I'm like, I don't remember the end of this at all. So I got bored and stopped watching it the first time I watched it.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying that to be a jerk, but it wasn't something we weren't doing a show. I had no investment other than what is this? Okay. And at the time, Shattered Grid was just coming out, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like a live action Shattered Grid, but I'm just reading that comic. And, the Arbiter guy looks cool. The Draken didn't impress me. He was okay, but that shield was a little wonky. The sentries look good. And then when it got to these guys, I'm like, what? I didn't, it was, the fight didn't thrill me. It was sort of the putties and them, and it was fine. It's good enough, but I wasn't very invested in the story, and I just kind of wasn't that interested. And when I saw there was like 6 minutes left, I was like, no, that's too. So that was my first impression. Revisiting it, I also, it didn't thrill me in the beginning. That first part, and I'll say this harshly, and I kind of feel like I said a lot of similar stuff with Crimson Vision. They get better. These videos get better over time. So the beginning of the first video is the worst stuff they do, technically speaking. And it looks, again, better than anything I could do, and better than a lot that's out there, but the most asterisk amateurish. And I say asterisk because all of it looks pretty good, but it was the most like, oh, this is okay, but it's not impressing me, and it's just sort of like a whatever version, their take on Shattered Grid, and I just didn't care. Rewatching it, I like the Arbiter a lot more, and I got more invested. And by the end of this episode, I was more invested. But it wasn't until I liked it better as it went on. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but episode 2, part 2, is when I really got on board. So it took me a while to like become really invested. So feel what are your takeaway like when you first watched it?
I enjoyed it. I agree that they do get better. I did enjoy this also because another thing I like in alternate universe, alternate timeline, multiversal stuff is when we get to see similar characters on different paths. And by that I mean immediately out of the gates we see the 93 team post fight.
Right.
They're just donezo,
Yes.
which builds up Draken and his crew that much more.
Sure.
And then the Arbiter comes in and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like this is established bad. How are we going to be able to combat this? And then we see the new team. There's a lot of character development in the first fight, which I understood, but I also get why you felt a little bored by it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'll say this too, that throughout all of it, and there was one like in between episode 2 and 3, they do a test fight with the trainee character, and they did a thing with Zach and stuff, and we'll talk about those. I think they do a really good job, more than the other ones, of capturing that 90s Power Rangers feel.
Yes.
I mean, it's updated, the camera moves a bit more, but I
Yeah.
feel like you have more sentimentality for that than I do.
Yep.
And so maybe that's why it's tickling your funny bone a little bit more than mine. Like, I'm like, this is fine, but it's like, it's not, it's not taking it to the next super level. It's just sort of like, remember the 90s? We're doing it better. And that really works. But for me, it didn't hit me in the nostalgia as much as I think it did for you.
Yeah, probably. Also, I like different renditions of the same character more than you do.
I don't know if that's true.
Let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
Everything we watch, both of us, me like slightly more than Gaz go, that's awesome. I wish I could have a figure of it.
Yes.
And Gaz says that for a lot of stuff, but he actually only gets.
Well,
I, on the other hand, go, you know, it would be great. All of these things.
That's true. You do buy more everything than I do, but I'm constrained by, I want them to match. So,
Yeah.
for example, I'm collecting Beast Morphers figures, but they started putting them out in the Lightning collection, and I kind of don't want the regular Beast Morphers anymore because they don't match. So I might want that character, but if he's an inch shorter or the paint is like that bothers me. But that's a whole different thing. We're missing a lot of chat here. Actually, not.
Here, let me take a gander on this.
All right, go for it.
Iron Cena's P-Man. I get that, but if something hurts my eyes, I would not say anything to the person, but it will leave an impression.
Talking about why they don't
it will
like
still
that
leave an
suit.
impression.
Yeah.
Dolly Girl said, I hate when that happens. So up for a new Sentai, then you get a ways in and the excitement disconnects. I've been trying to watch Cocker Ranger for like 2 years now. Been on episode 50 out of 53 forever.
Oh my gosh, you're so
I
close
say
to
just
the
power
end.
through.
Yeah, that's
just
an
sit
afternoon
down,
right
take
there.
2 hours, and then boom.
Yeah.
Call it good. But one final thing in regards to our views on it.
Yeah.
I am fully invested in Spider-Man Spider-Verse for my toy collection.
Sure.
Gaz dabbles a little bit. I feel like that speaks volumes with how we liked this episode overall.
I think that's true. I will say I do think the Arbiter's cool. Like, he looks cool. He looks like, a good job of looking like an evil ranger but unique. I like the glow and everything. The guy who was doing the voice acting for Lord Draken, Tommy, I think did a good job with the kias and like sounding like Jason David Frank.
Exactly. I love the Arbiter's voice, dude.
I love the voice actor for the Arbiter, but I'm gonna say not as bad as Psycho Green, but a similar thing where there's a little bit too much modulation on it. And it was worse on Psycho Green, but there were a couple lines that the Arbiter was saying. He's like, you are not worthy. And I'm like, wait, what was that? And I actually backed it up once or twice, So I like the voice actor, and I don't hate the modulation. I think just when they're doing sound editing, really listen, because when you're editing, you know what he says. But a few words here or there, I think, get lost, and you can maybe pick it up through context. But I'm a firm believer that like dialogue should be clear. Even if there's a filter over it, it should be clear. And again, the Psycho Green we talked about last week was a little bit worse. So I'm nitpicking a nitpick, but I do like the voice actor. I agree. What I didn't like because you said there'd be nothing to dislike, but I always have things to dislike, and they're nitpicks. If this, here's the thing, if this was terrible, I'd be like, it's terrible, and I'd laugh about how bad it is, and it'd be Mystery Science Theater. But it's generally good, so I'm pointing out the things I liked and didn't like. And again, this episode of all of them was my least favorite.
Fair.
And this is going to be kind of hard to say because I know that the Jordan who plays Blue is like the creator, but I wasn't a huge fan of the Blue Ranger in this iteration. Specifically, he was making bad jokes, and I get that he's supposed to be the nerdy guy, and they were trying to update it because like the original Billy wasn't always making bad jokes, and okay, here we go, this is his thing. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But I feel like I think this came out like 2 years ago, and I feel like the Avengers just came out because like half the jokes are like direct jokes from the Avengers. Like oh, what do we do now? Let's get shawarma. And like oh, I get that reference, like Captain America would say.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think he's plagiarizing. I don't think he's like thinking we won't get it. I think he's making Avengers references, which is a bad idea because it's no longer topical, and it's like, I don't know, it's just weird.
It dates it.
It dates it. Yeah. So I was not a big fan of that. Similarly, but that's forgivable. It was just like I wouldn't have made it so dated. I'd make bad jokes that weren't so tied to a specific time. But what I also didn't like was they were commenting on the Power Rangers movie from Lionsgate. They didn't say the words, but they were like coming back and like, oh yeah, I don't know why they had a molten metal monster, blah blah blah. Didn't they ever watch the TV show Derp Derp Derp? Which is a conversation that makes sense for Power Rangers fans, and we all get it.
Yes. But
they're supposed to be the Power Rangers. So in their world, is there a Power Ranger show where they're different from them? Or is it like in Dino Thunder where like in Japan there's a show based on the real Power Ranger? Like what was happening?
That's how I took it.
Yeah, but it was weird because we already have multiple realities, and then there's a movie about the Power Rangers based on a TV show that the Power Rangers are discussing. It just
So the
weird.
way I took it, and this is a deep cut, and maybe one of you will understand what I mean. But in DC Comics, during an event called Infinite Crisis, there was a Superboy from an
Superboy
Earth
Prime.
called Earth Prime. Yes, and he read all of the DC Comics, and then it turned out that he was Superman. But everything else was our world. It just he happened to be Superman in that world, and that's how I took it for this, where all of that is consistent, but they happen to be the Power Rangers there, which also influences the different stories of. We see them in action, and we see them in action
If
movies.
this was an ongoing show, I mean, technically it is, but they're putting out 10-minute episodes every 6 months. If this was like a normal every week we're getting a show, or if it was a monthly comic, I would have no problem whatsoever with it. I feel like there's just so much going on, and we have alternate realities, and then like they're going to spend 30 seconds of the precious time muddling up the plot with this, again, time-sensitive joke about the Power Rangers movie that if you don't pick up the reference is completely meaningless. It's just like, so I don't know. I'm loath to tie things to a certain time period, especially when it's coming out so far apart. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. And unfortunately, like I said, a lot of these things the Blue Ranger was doing. So he, as the creator, he's like, like I'm going to give myself these lines to be nerdy Blue Ranger. And that's fine. But I just, I disagree with the creative choices that were made there, I guess I should say.
Fair.
Let's see. Iron C-SPAN, we'll have to go. Okay, we'll take it easy, Iron C-SPAN, man. Matt Kendall Claire says, hey, Dolly Girl, nice to see you remembered. 45 minutes late, Dolly Girl, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's just saying hi and chatting. Aki Dragu, Superboy Prime, great villain, also agree. Real Babu, only 15 today, Dolly. They started half past. Yeah, we did start at 5:30 today, so we're going for at least another half hour for those that are running late. So let me see if I have any more comments. Did the Green Ranger show up in this one or the next one? I think it was this one.
Next one.
Okay, well then I will leave that.
I think it was that either they appeared right at the end or they were mentioned and then not in the episode.
You know what? I could find out real quick. Let me see.
It doesn't matter because when the audience watches this, watch them all in a row.
Yeah, watch them in a row. They don't
get it done.
Yeah, and obviously we're trying to avoid major spoilers, but we can't help but minor spoilers as we go. So before we go into the next episode, I will say I like the special effects, the visual effects.
Yes.
Better than Crimson Vision. And Crimson Vision was fine, but I think I like them better here. I think they're a little bit more professional, and they're putting their own creative flourishes on. Part of that is because they're their own take on the character, so they can do that. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. But the energy on the weapons I thought was cool. The blue glow on the Arbiter was cool. Yeah, the effects in general is great. The camera work is great. At times, it's a little too dynamic for me. Like they're moving the camera a lot, which is great. But sometimes I'm like, settle down a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
I get that, especially in some of the fights.
yeah, and that might be to cover for a punch that was, not connecting the way it's supposed to, or who knows, or it
Yeah.
might just be for dynamism. It wasn't terrible. Again, it better to be ambitious and come up a little short than to just be boring. So I give him credit for that. But I also like it's a little thing, but when they were punching the putties, there was always little pieces of rock and stuff falling off and smoke. I thought that was really cool. So I have nothing but good things to say about the visual effects in this, which I believe were done by Crystal Lane. So good job, Crystal Lane. Oh, and also another I don't want to just mention everybody, but I did notice
Shout out to all of you.
the director it's interesting because the creator, writer, producer, costume props, and actor is Jordan Barnett, but the director is Nicholas Ortiz. So there is another creative in there, and then another actor, the one who plays Rocky, which is Eric Fuchs. He is also the fight choreographer. So, not to say the other actors don't deserve to be mentioned, but I'm sort of talking about the behind-the-scenes people who happen to also be actors. Yeah.
One thing of note, since you mentioned that, another thing that's not a major spoiler, but is part of the show, is this team of Rangers is not the original Mighty Morphin team of Rangers.
Very good point. Very good point. It's Adam and Rocky, and but it's still Trini.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's their own combo how we got there. And
and very, very different, subtle nuances for some characters, and then others are completely different. Like in this prime example, I 100% believe Rocky is the leader of this team.
Yeah.
In Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the show, I never once believed that Rocky was the leader of that team.
I agree 100% with that. Yeah. Do you want to watch the trailer for part 2 and then talk about part 2?
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna play it. Actually, let me unmute it back here. Floop, floop. Bots.
This is episode 2, part 1, correct?
Episode 2, part 1 trailer. Yeah, there is no for some reason. I guess I'll say this before we get into it. There's episode 1, there's episode 2, part 1, and episode 2, part 2. And both of them are almost as long as episode 1. And I don't know why it's not episode 1, 2, and 3. Because there's a natural stopping point. They're both reasonably long and interesting. It seemed, again, like a weird creative choice to make it part 1 and 2 of episode 2. I don't know why they would do that. That's what they did. Doesn't affect the content. It's just weird numbering.
Yeah.
So this is a trailer for episode 2, part 1 by Unworthy Productions.
Hey, Kim. What's up? I'm so worried. This might be the strongest thing that we've ever faced, and
Well, that's
all just
Tommy,
happening so
by the way. It's
fast.
female Tommy.
But you know what I realized about the Power Rangers? We're unstoppable when we're together.
It's a good trailer.
Yeah.
I like the music here, how they're bringing in notes of the original theme song without actually playing it. That's pretty
Exactly.
cool.
I just want to rewatch all these.
So, oops, let me turn that off. So that's the trailer for episode 2, part 1. And I was saying I didn't get really into it until part 2, but episode 2, part 1 is when I started. The first episode I watched because we were doing the show and I needed to watch it to know what I was talking about. The second episode, basically, once the Green Ranger showed up, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. And then by the time we got to part 2, I was like, okay, now I'm invested enough that I want to keep watching. It's tough with these reviews when we talk because I want to be generally positive. I don't want to single one person out over another, and I don't want to cause hard feelings for any of the creatives that watch this. But just like last time, I'm going to single out the Green Ranger as being my favorite actor, character. It's tough too because actor/character. They have the most screen time. They have the best fight. They're written the best. Now, is that because that actor happens to be so good, or is it because they were written a good part? There's a lot of factors. I've talked before about how Troy from Megaforce doesn't seem that good, but I've seen him in other stuff and he seems charismatic. So I'm always reluctant to criticize. So I'm not going to criticize others too much, but I am going to say that once the Green Ranger showed up, started fighting, and I don't know if it's the face actor is different than the suit actor or not, but I liked the choreography of that fight. I thought it was really cool. And then when they took their helmet off, like I was engaged with that actress's charisma the most. So like that's part of what sucked me into the whole thing. Like that actress got me into it.
I think what part of it is, and this is pure speculation, no
Sure.
idea, is that obviously with this team, there are some takes that are completely void of most of the source material and others that are similar but different. And Tommy is one of those cases where she's so different from the Tommy that we're used to
Right.
that there's a lot more um, faster growth that she could do where it's 100% her own character,
Right.
whereas others they're taking maybe like Rocky is an example, taking some pieces from the original material and then putting a little bit of their own spin on it. Where that one maybe there's so much more room for growth. A because of
Right.
how Tommy plays in the arc, and B because we've never had a female Tommy, and it's like, yeah, this is my character who happens to be named Tommy Oliver. Let's go.
Right. Yeah, and I do like the suit redesign the most
Oh, it's so
on
cool.
her.
It's so
Yeah,
cool, man.
and to the earlier point, maybe because it's helped by the fact there's more 3D armor pieces, not just the
Yeah.
shield, but like the gauntlets and stuff, and there's sort of like a cape slash like duster thing going on with it in the back that's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really that character slash actress sucked me in. And when they had the fight with the Arbiter, it was and Arbiter was even like, oh, Green Rangers are the most troublesome, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Six Ranger coming in a little more
Yeah.
powerful. I did keep wondering why they wouldn't call like the Dragon Zord or something. I know they're not supposed to escalate, but when the Arbiter's destroying their entire team, like, but I understand budget reasons and
Have
maybe
we established that they have Zords?
we haven't, but she had the Dragon Dagger. And yeah, no,
Yeah.
we haven't established it. Maybe in this universe they don't. Fair enough. Fair enough. I did think this scene was odd. Actually, let me see if I could back. I don't know if it's in the trailer, but they come out and Tommy takes her helmet off, and we first see the actress, and they're talking in the alley, like, "Oh my gosh, we teleported, but the Arbiter's coming." And Tommy
Yeah.
takes her helmet off to talk. None of the other Rangers do, and that was really weird to me. Because usually
Yeah.
they all take them off, like we need to talk face to face and like be personal, or they're like in battle mode, and it made me feel like, okay, they had suit actors or stunt doubles for all of the other actors, and the only face actor was the Tommy's actor or actress or whatever.
Possibly.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't understand that decision. It's not a terrible thing. It just seemed weird
Yeah.
to me.
It was one. I agree with you. It was odd. I didn't read too much into it though, just because we want to establish that this is a different Tommy, and that's kind of why it was in the scene, and that was fine with me.
Right. Yeah. Again, that was a nitpick. But I like that they. Again, spoilers. They seem to get away, and then immediately the Arbiter's on top of them again, while they're already still beat up and defeated. That definitely established more a sense of urgency than the earlier fight did. Of like, oh, they
Yeah.
can't get away. It kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you ever watched Battlestar Galactica, the remake they did a couple years ago.
I have not yet. No.
All right. Well, there was an episode where the Cylons are chasing him. That's like the whole thing, and they jump and then they get away, and the Cylons find him again. But they had this thing where every 22 minutes the Cylons were able to find him, so they had to keep jumping and jumping, and they couldn't sleep and rest and relax. And that's what this reminded me of. Like, yeah, you're a little bit ahead, but in a minute they're gonna be like, there's no chance to like recharge. And so from a like a tension building plot element, I thought that was really good, and it worked immediately. And even when they realize a way that maybe they could not be tracked so quickly, they find out they're still kind of being tracked, just not as quickly, and I dug that. Yeah.
The other thing I liked that they did is some seasons do it better than others in traditional Power Rangers and Sentai, but they established that Green is by far the most powerful Ranger on
Yes.
this team.
Yes.
Like they were like, nope, we really need Tommy to back us up. Tommy is grossly more powerful one-on-one than all of us, and we really need the help. And Tommy was a lot more humble with the team and doesn't
Was it a guy?
say anything negative. But a lot
Right.
of times it is frustrating as a viewer, and obviously the show is made for kids, where we have a sixth ranger or a seventh ranger, whoever come in, and they are clearly more powerful. But it's
Right.
like, oh man, like let's figure this out together, guys. It's like the best way to equate it is the Zords. After in some seasons, after they get a Zord upgrade, there's
Right.
no reason to go to the base form
Right.
ever. Ever. There's no reason. You've already established it's not the
Which
most
is why
powerful.
I've enjoyed the way they use the Zords and Beast Morphers, where they make
Exactly.
reasons for that. I realize I haven't looked at chat in a while. Let me see if there's anything going on. Matt Claire, Defender, Me Too, Defender. So I will likely be rewatching them after this stream ends, meaning rewatching the Unworthies. Yeah.
Yep.
So that was episode 2, part 1. Again, I don't know why it was split up into 2. We don't have a trailer for part 2. I'm not going to show any more footage from part 2 because I feel weird about showing footage from actual episodes without permission. But let's talk about it. This is where, like I said, it went from, oh, okay, this is good enough that I'm like interested, to, okay, this is good enough that I want to watch the next ones and see where it's going and keep going. I will say, in the first scene, they're now in like this beat up old warehouse, environment, which is, I didn't praise the shot locations in this as much as I did from Crimson Vision. On purpose, because I still was more impressed with what Crimson Vision found, and that's a product of where they live, and that's not like just I from what I understand is these guys are actually New York, New Jersey, my old stomping ground, so they're not going to easily find these crazy lush things. So they had some streets and alleys and stuff like actually, and that goes back to the Lord Draken scene. It just sort of seemed like somebody's backyard or something, But once they got into the fights in this, and they're in the warehouse, and then they're in the alley, and then they end up in this bombed out old building.
Garage.
Yeah, it started to feel a little bit more Power Ranger-y, a little bit better. And at the location where they're in this beat up old building and like rain's coming through the ceiling, and I know they didn't build that, somebody found it, but it's great, and I liked that a lot. So that helped me, and it gave, as soon as you start the episode, you're like, oh, we're in a down place, and everybody's just sort of looking at their phones. That being said, there's a scene where Rocky's walking across. I'm going to give myself a one shot real quick to illustrate this since I don't have it. Rocky's walking across to talk to Blue, and Blue is basically like this. And I thought Blue was peeing. I thought Blue was like just, taking a whiz in the corner, like not really, like I didn't like really consciously think that they were putting that in there, but the body language just reminded me of when you're camping or something and your buddy finds a tree, and then they turned around and it was like, oh, they're looking at a phone and Trini's right there and stuff. But it was just I assume unintentionally funny moment to me. If it was intentional, kudos, because I read perfectly that joke. If not, that it was just a little intentionally funny moment. But I was hard on Blue before. But I will say this episode, I dug Blue. Blue was doing the science stuff. Blue started explaining things, and then Trini re-explained it more simply, which, again, that's a dynamic we've seen. So I thought that was really cool.
Good callback.
Yes, I also dig how they were using a Super Nintendo and a DS and, like, I think a Game Boy Color, like, all like, Nintendo products mashed in with, like, a weird, like, thing that doesn't make sense. Like, all very Power Ranger-y. I dug all of that. What I will say, as much as I started digging Blue this episode, and this isn't actually, I didn't like Adam or Black, but I realized that like Adam / the Black Ranger, well, I'll say Adam, not the Black Ranger. Adam almost does nothing and almost says nothing. The Black Ranger fights with the axe and is involved in the fights and stuff, but when they're in civilian, I think Adam says the least of anyone. And which is a bummer. Yeah, which is a bummer because Adam in Mighty Morphin was one of my favorite characters. Now, obviously, this is a different actor and it's a different version, but I'm like, what are they going to do with Adam? How are they going to spin Adam? And Adam's just like, okay, guys. I'm like, all right, well, next time we'll see what he says. He's like, yup. And I'm like, okay. It's just like I wanted to see more from Adam. But, that's not saying that the actor's doing a bad job. It's just like they're barely getting any screen time in their civilian form.
The thing that I'm cautiously optimistic on is it seems like just from episode 1 to episode 2, A and B, as we'll call them for right now.
Right.
It seems like.
Wait, why are we calling them A and B?
Because there's part 1 and part 2, and numbers are confusing.
They are labeled a certain way. If you label them a different way, it's going to become more confusing.
So in episode A, just kidding. No, so as the series progresses, I think we get little nuggets of like, oh, I kind of like what they've done with Kimberly so far. I wonder if they're going to expand on it. Awesome, they did. Oh, I wonder if Rocky's really going to take charge and lead the team. Oh, wow, he did. And like all these little things. And what I'm optimistic on with Adam is maybe in episode 3 or 4 or somewhere down the line, there will be a part for you specifically where Adam gets to
Wait,
shine.
I get to play Adam?
Oh, Adam had a weird shapeshift change, and
now he's a white middle-aged guy
who's maniacal.
Okay, 2 things. One, Real Babu said maybe his voice is a little froggy, so well done there. Well done there. Matt Claire says, "Ouch, Steve," but good. Here's why I think you're wrong, and here's why I think we're going to see less of Adam than we previously did. 2 reasons. One, in the credits for one of the episodes, they list all the actors and they have Black Ranger stand-in or stunt double or something like that. only for the Black Ranger. No one else. So I'm like, maybe this guy shot a few scenes, got bored, got fired, found another job, whatever, and so they had like he's the only one. Now that could just be everyone else was able to do all their own stuff. Couple that with the fact that between episode 2 and 3, we saw a actually, well, you know what? I'll play a little piece of what came between episode 2 and 3. I'm gonna put that on right now. Let me.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I'm gonna just play a piece of it. I'll let everybody see what I'm talking about. So in between 2 and 3, there were 2 videos that came out before the trailer of 3. This was one of them. It's called The Return, Unworthy Productions. This is the same warehouse where all this happened. Could it be?
Where are you guys?
Yes. It's Zach. Zach comes back looking for the rest of his team. And he fights a bunch of putties. This is really short, so I don't want to show much more than that. But it's a fun scene. It's basically just Zach comes back and beats up a bunch of putties. The actor who plays Zach does a good job of the old hip-hop keto thing. And does a good job of playing Zach, you know, the way we'd imagine him. But the fact we didn't see a lot of Adam as a civilian. He's the only one that had a double. And then I'm sorry, I meant to say Adam. And then here comes Zach. I feel like Adam is
I
going to
didn't think about that, but you're right.
I hope I'm wrong. It'd be cool to have both of them in it. Yeah. But that's my take on that.
You can have that one.
Whoa, Ninja Steel!
There you go.
Yeah. So, but getting back to episode 2, other thoughts. They were talking about like, oh, we could defeat this guy. We defeated everyone. We got Lord Zed. And you know what the other example they used other than Lord Zed? The other villain example?
Remind me.
Lokar. Lokar. Why? Because everybody loves Ninja Storm, apparently.
No, Lothor is Ninja
Oh,
Storm.
wait. So who's Lokar?
Oh.
Oh, well, then never mind. Okay. I thought maybe they said Lothor, and it just sounded. Now I'm not sure.
We'll rewatch and we'll reconvene.
I thought they said Lothor, or I thought they said the villain from Ninja Storm. If it wasn't that, I don't know what it was. But if it was the villain from Ninja Storm, it's weird that everybody loves Ninja Storm, and my least favorite villain of all time. So I don't want him to be involved in this at all. Although, arguably, they could do a cooler version, but, you know.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, Van Illustration, big fan of this, says, these look flippin' dope.
You're a fan of the way he said it, or?
All the above.
Oh.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, no, these are good. I'll say, spoiler alert, I think I like the, what was it, Shattered Past?
Yeah.
I think that's still my favorite of all.
Okay.
I think that could potentially change when episode 3 comes out based on the trailer. But as of now, I give Unworthy credit for doing much bigger production, longer, more filled, more focused, which is what Crimson Vision needs to do.
Kickstarted also.
Kickstarted for episode 3. They did a Kickstarter where they're asking for 1,000. They got a little over 1,000, so that funded. And they have an Indiegogo with a flex goal of 8,000, which I think they have like 1,600 or something right now. So we'll put those links in the YouTube video. Well, the Indiegogo, the Kickstarter's done. So good for them. Yeah. It does bring up questions about, and I don't care about this stuff, but about like legality and stuff, because they're using real Power Rangers music and sound effects at times, like not just their own original music. They're using their own characters, but they're also using actual characters that are, you know, owned by Hasbro or whoever.
Established, yeah.
Yeah, and my understanding with fan film type stuff, generally speaking, is if you're not making money on it, you could get away with it. You still might get told to stop, but as long as you're not really making any money on it, it's a fan film, it's a free commercial, they're gonna not really bother with you. But if they're running Patreons and Kickstarters, I don't know if they monetize their videos. I don't know how that works. And maybe they're not big enough that they can get away with it. Maybe they know something about the law. I don't, you know, but I knew there was a guy I followed, and this goes back to the first talking about last week, that did a Star Wars fan film, and he specifically did it where he couldn't run a Kickstarter or anything. He had to just fund it himself and make no money, and if he did, he was okay, and he did that, and he still got in trouble. And it was a thing because Disney had taken over, and then they attacked him, and he's like, well, I talked to Lucasfilm. They said as long as I make no money, and eventually it got cleared up. But this
was this the Vader one?
It was the Vader one, yeah. And so that was
that's a really good one, by the way, if you guys have a chance to watch
It
it.
is, but I'm just saying, and so when I say this, I'm not worried about the morality or the legality. I don't, these are fun. I'm not turning you in. I'm not ratting you out. I'm not judging you. I'm more like, how are you doing this, not getting in trouble? And what if you do get in trouble, then we don't get an episode 4, like that kind of thing. So I hope whatever they're doing it the right way, and it works out is kind of all I'm saying.
It seems like Saban prior and now Hasbro are a little more flexible than Disney.
Absolutely. Disney's notoriously bad for that kind of stuff. But
yeah, because like another example I thought of that works in our favor is the Bat in the Sun project where they got a bunch of Ranger actors. And
that was sanctioned though.
Oh, was
that was sanctioned by Saban. Because think about it, the Bat in the Sun version of Green Ranger is in the video game. It's 100% sanctioned by Saban.
Yeah, but they didn't make any money on that other than ad rev. Well, I guess ad rev. I don't know.
Yeah, I Bat in the Sun did make some money, but it was sanctioned by Saban. But they also have like Wolverine and Batman and others. So I don't understand how fan films work in terms of how they're allowed to make money. And again, I do fan art and sell it, so I'm not trying to be holier than thou or say I'm better. I just don't understand. Is it legal? And if it's not, how worried are you? It's basically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see. Matt Kendall-Clare, if it was Lokar, then he was the head being that worked with Rita and had powered up Goldar's wizard Warzord Cyclopsis.
Oh.
So that would kind of make sense since they were talking about Zed. It'd be same era as opposed to a Ninja Storm villain. So that maybe it was Lokar. You're probably right.
Just steal.
They do a Power Rangers cheer, which I thought was kind of cheesy, where they literally are. What they don't go like. I don't know. There's a lot of times they do cheers like,
to the power.
Yeah, to the power. Well, we're doing it on purpose, cheesy, But I mean,
no,
like,
I know.
Certain teams will have their little saying of like, ninjas forever don't surrender, Earth defenders don't surrender, or whatever. So I think they were going for that.
Eliminated.
Right. But Mighty Morphin Power Rangers didn't really have that. They had its Morphin time, but they didn't have that other thing. And I feel like, and I forget that they were basically just like, go Power Rangers, and they literally did this.
Yeah.
And again, like, was that supposed to be cheesy and funny?
Hopefully,
because it was cheesy and funny. And when we talked about Crimson Vision Studios last week, there was a few things like when he said it's Morphin time, and I said if that's supposed to be funny, then it is. And they actually talked to us and confirmed that it was supposed to be funny. So good. But sometimes it's tough to know the intention because we haven't seen a bunch of episodes. We don't know the creator, So if it was supposed to be kind of cheesy and funny, great. If it wasn't, not the best choice.
Yeah. Speaking of Crimson Vision, can you please show the episode 3 trailer?
No.
Why?
Because I'm not done talking. What about the almost kiss? We have the Pink Ranger and the Green Ranger, and they have a relationship, or they're about to have a relationship because they're talking, and they almost kiss, and then Blue comes in. He's like, "Hey guys, whatever," and they're like, it's like kind of a Han Solo Princess Leia C-3PO moment.
Yeah.
But that's interesting, and it becomes more interesting when we see the end of the episode, things happen, and then there's flashbacks to the two of them, and it shows that they actually have more of a relationship, very similar to Kimberly and Tommy when there was a man and a woman. And this is again a nitpick. The way they set it up when they're in costume, hiding, they almost kiss. You feel like it's going to be a first kiss, big moment thing. But when in the flashback, they show almost the same moment. So it's like, oh, well, they already have a relationship. So this was just one in a string of kisses.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know what it reminds me of when I complained about Crimson Vision? How it's like they had the kind of quick, simple morph, and then they did the deluxe morph. I feel like they did that with the kiss, where it's like, oh, is this the first kiss? Oh, no, it wasn't. It wasn't the first kiss. It was just another kiss. Like, So, again, a nitpick. Otherwise, I don't mind that. I think it's cool that they still had a relationship and everything.
The one thing I will say about the Tommy-Kimberly relationship in this is I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but when it comes to certain relationships or changing them for a comic, movie, TV show, whatever, if you change the dynamic of it, sometimes people argue, oh, it feels so forced. You're just trying to change it so it's fresh. This felt 100% organic, and I really enjoyed the execution on it, where it's like, hey, Kim, what's up? Oh, Tommy, what's up? And like everything was super solid. Like, I was really happy with the tweaks they made, and it didn't feel like they made the tweak just to make the tweak.
They
100% did it for a purpose, and it and it worked out so well.
And
so
it involved
props to
the character and actor I was most interested in the show. So I was the most interested. If it
Yeah.
was like, somebody else suddenly like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, no, I already care about this character, so that's fine.
Yeah.
I also really like the morph sequence they developed for this. It's very
Yeah.
classic. It's morphing time, but they got the energy and there's like a clang, which is very good. Again, good special effects, good sound effects,
Yeah.
and then one of the times they do it, they even have a little energy crackle off them. Totally dig that. It's very, very cool. Again, it was weird they used the real music and sound effects. The original music generally is good. I think I preferred the stuff we were getting in Crimson Vision a little bit more because they did a little bit more with original music.
Yeah.
This was fine, no problem. But I can't help but compare the two.
I know.
What's that?
I said, oh, I know.
The fight with the Arbiter in Part 2 was awesome. The smoke and the sets and the light, it was great. And that's when I was like, okay, we're really going now. And that
The
really
Arbiter's special ability, for those that haven't watched it, you'll see. But the adaptability of the Arbiter, I thought was a really cool thing that I enjoyed.
Yes, I agree. Also, the Arbiter uses a big knife that kind of looks like Psycho Green's knife to me. Is it, or is it just like it's kind of like a big machete?
Honestly,
kinda...
no. It reminds me of the swords that Kratos uses in God of War.
I agree, but that also reminds me of Psycho Green's knife because it's sort of like a big Bowie
Psycho
knife.
Green's knife should remind you of Kratos's.
Okay, but
First of all,
do you think that the Arbiter's knife is supposed to look like a Psycho weapon?
No, only because the Unworthy Rangers have like kind of more realistic looking tweaked weapons. So I think it's just a stylistic choice.
Okay. Let me check chat real quick. Matt Claire, not to mention the Mighty Morphin show, the same voice actor did both Zed and Lokar's voice, so that could be another reason why it would be Lokar. Airzuki says, Gazbot, okay. Okay, I think they're trying to do the emoji, but it didn't work. And then everyone's saying hello. I dug... it's a spoiler, I don't want to say it.
Please watch these.
Yeah,
just watch these. If you didn't watch Crimson Vision's videos last week, watch those also.
Yes.
Watch all these. As Gaz said
yes.
earlier, I want to reiterate, we make nitpicks here and there because we're invested and because we like them. And I, for once, am less negative than Gaz on certain things, and just all these I've thoroughly
It's true.
enjoyed.
And if you've never watched our channel before, we nitpick the actual Power Rangers show.
Everything.
Much worse than this. So it's, and we obviously love that.
Bad cop on most stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But so like, yeah, if it's that thing of like, if we didn't care, if we didn't love, we wouldn't bother. You know what I mean?
We originally, kind of behind the scenes stuff, Gaz and I were talking about some stuff to go over, and he's like, oh, what do you want to do? I was like, let's talk about Unworthy, and then let's talk about Crimson Vision. He's like, oh, well, Crimson Vision is a little bit shorter, so why don't we do them first? and then if people really like it, we'll go to Unworthy. And then we watched it. Obviously, everybody enjoyed that. And I was like, yes, okay, we get to keep talking about more fan stuff. The biggest thing that I learned from the previous Ranger hiatus is obviously we're always talking about Power Rangers, but having actual things to watch that I haven't really seen is so cool to talk about still. And it keeps it going for me.
Yes.
Obviously, I love the throwback stuff. Don't get me wrong. But like this specifically, there's still more to come, and I'm very stoked.
I agree. And I enjoyed last week's episode a lot, too. It's a lot more of a free form. We don't have to worry about, like, oh, what happened 16 episodes ago? And what, like, we could just go. Well, do you want to watch the trailer for episode? Well, actually, let's.
I want you so bad.
Let's catch up on chat, and then we'll watch the trailer for episode 3.
Okay.
Real Babu, nitpick? Really? Yeah, you. Arizuki, maybe I showered guys earlier because I felt like I was nitpicking the crap out of these videos. What? Soured Gaz. No. Arizuki watched 1.5 of these with me. She actually agreed with Iron CNSP Man about the sublimated dye suits not looking very good because they were flat, but that wasn't actually something I was complaining about, so no. Matt Claire, I always watch the Crimson stuff. You two tempted me too much with that. Nice. And not showered. Okay, so here is the trailer. The last episode came out November 2019. So it's been a few months, but it's probably going to be a while before we get episode 3. This trailer dropped December 30th. So less than a month ago, this is the trailer for episode 3 from Unworthy Productions. And I don't have it up on the screen, so let me fix that. There we go. These are clips from actually part 2.
So
episode 2.
much pain.
Spoilers.
I can't imagine the tragedy
Megazord.
you must have endured on your world.
The Power Rangers are no more.
All right, so we see
We're all
Draken
being
is still in the
hunted by
mix.
something relentless.
Or a
Interesting.
different dragon.
Something that
True.
doesn't get tired and never quits. You turn children into gods and expect there to be no consequences.
I love this. Oh, it's coming up. That's cool
And now,
too.
the Arbiters come to your world.
Little turbo. Kame!
Unworthy.
Mystic Force even gets a little spot in there. Ha!
Oh, Tyranno Ranger looks so cool.
That looks fantastic. I want the Red Sentry to be Skull, like in the comics. That would be pretty awesome.
I thought the red. Oh, I know what you mean. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a spoiler, but it's also 2 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
Dolly Girl says, sounds like Darth Vader or Christian Bale Batman. A little bit, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it. He needs to be the big bad, you know.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Kickstarter already. Yeah, so you can see they did show a Megazord. Doesn't mean it's from their dimension.
Yeah.
It basically confirms, oh man, we're crossing over into all kinds of different dimensions. And to address your point previously,
Yes, we are.
they definitely show what looks like the Ninja Storm setting and
That's
everything.
confirmed.
It is confirmed.
It's
Okay.
100% confirmed.
Okay, so it's confirmed that there is some level of crossover between the first Ninja storyline or the Ninja Storm that Crimson Vision Studios is doing and what Power Rangers
First
Unworthy.
Ninja, Rise of the Ninja, and Shattered Past.
All connected to each other and all connected to
Those
this.
all three were connected to this.
Okay, well that's awesome. Because I know that's what you were trying to talk about last week, and that's great because my favorite one so far is Shattered Past, and it's going to tie into this. And that means that the Omega Ranger we saw is the Omega Ranger from Shattered Past. And what's cool,
sir.
that actor also often plays the Flash, and he's doing that Flash super speed punch, so it's like a little thing there too that's cool. So the bummer is, who knows when we're going to get an episode from either of these. It's going to be a while. But I am excited for the next episode of this and the next episode of, well, specifically Shattered Past, but now that I know First Ninja's connected, maybe that'll tie in as well. We'll see. But
give me one sec to grab a charger just so I don't die midstream.
Well, okay. We were about to sign off, so he's going to get a charger, come back, and I'm like, bye, guys. So let me see if there's anything going on in chat here. Arizuki says, whoa, this trailer looks pretty good. Up in the production. Yeah, well, that was one of the things I said. The first half of the first episode, I watched a while ago and stopped watching it just because I was like, As it went on, it gets exponentially better, like by leaps and bounds. Not like, oh, it's gotten a little better. So by the time we're getting to episode 3, it's like, it looks like a whole different team, you know, like it's great because they're learning, obviously. And then Matt Clear says, agreed, Dolly, but those voices are usually cool. Do they do stuff like that? Meaning like the Christian Bale or whatever. Big Dog, what's up, dude?
I know we're wrapping up,
Yes.
but I know we also have a lot of feelings right now. So I'm not sure what you said, but so in terms of everything we've seen so far, in terms of hype, and we obviously like all these. There's not a bad one. What is your order most to least excited for the next episode of each respective series?
Shattered Past is still number 1 for me. Number 2 would be Unworthy episode 3. Episode 3. Number 3 would be First Ninja. Or not First Ninja. The one with
Rise.
Yeah, Rise. And number 4 would be First Ninja.
Okay.
How about you?
I have a similar but different lineup. Number one, Unworthy.
Okay.
100%.
Yep.
Number 2, only because, side note, if you don't follow any of these people on Instagram, please do. You're going to see awesome screenshots and or clips from future episodes.
If you want those spoilers, some of us don't.
Spoilers or previews? Is it really spoilers if they're putting it out?
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's spoiled. Like, it doesn't mean like it's leaked footage. They might want to show people, but as a consumer, I might not want to know these things yet.
That's fair. So with that in mind, because of some things that I've seen from Instagram, Shattered Past number 2 for me.
Okay.
Number 3, First Ninja. Not only, but mainly because that ninja looked really intriguing.
That ninja, but we don't know where that's going to show up. That
I
could,
know.
that you said First Ninja, but he was in the
No.
the
Rise
Ninja.
of the Ninja is what I meant.
Oh, okay. So First Ninja is your last. So we have the same.
Correct.
So we have the same lineup, except we're flipping Unworthy 3 and Shattered Past 2.
Yes. So the thing about these is, I still am curious about First Ninja. What's going to happen with the Green Samurai Ranger?
Yeah.
But keeping things spoiler free, the things I saw from Shattered Past got me extra hyped. I was already excited. This solidified it as number 2.
I think for me, the reason I keep coming back to Shattered Past, even though it's shorter, is there's a lot more time travel, which I like. But it's I don't want to insult the Unworthy people because they are putting original stuff in there. But I feel like the Shattered Past stuff just has more original content, more original characters, and that appeals to me. So I forget the name of the character, but the Omega Ranger, Sam. I really like that character and I like that actor and I want to see what's going on. And as much as I like the Green Ranger in this one, it's still just a variation on a Green Ranger we've seen. And I like it. I'm not saying I don't, but
I get what you're trying to say, but you're contradicting yourself.
I know.
The literal same character that's in a season that I just haven't happened to see yet, I feel is more original than a completely different version of an established character.
Here's why. Because Sam isn't morphing into the Omega Ranger, or at least not yet. Sam is pulling in Saba, and Sam is using other powers.
I know,
I know
what you mean. I just wanted to point that out.
Sam is almost like a good guy Lord Draken. I think that's why I like Sam. Because they're pulling out all different powers, but not by killing people and conquering people. You know what I mean?
So this is going to be a deep cut, and I don't think anybody's going to know this. But when I think of Sam in Shattered Past, he makes me think of an old TV show in the early 2000s that was on Fox Kids called Galador, Defenders of the Galaxy. And it was a show that literally was...
Did the main character have like a lightsaber?
No.
Okay.
It was literally a giant Lego commercial because Lego put out these... products. It would be the figures, but all of them had interchangeable parts, and the whole thing was the main guy would I'm trying to think of another character with a similar power other than Peter Petrelli, but I mean he would see somebody and it'd be like, oh, you have a robotic arm with a laser, that's cool, and then have that power,
kind of like a Mega Man too.
Not even Mega Man. Mega Man would change, stay core himself and then just change part of it. This was literally like you would rip the legs off of somebody and put them on him, and those are his legs.
I get what you're saying. I feel like it's something that we've seen several times before. It's not the first time we've seen this.
Yeah, that was the one I watched a lot.
Sure. Well, and you said Peter Petrelli from Heroes. But he doesn't seem as overpowered as a lot of these characters do. You know what I mean? It seems like he's still
because this was temporary, similar to how Sam's seemed to be temporary as well.
Yeah. So I'm also interested because the Red Time Force Ranger is it's not West, but his son is involved, and so I don't know. It grabbed me, and I think Aki Dragu says the music was better, which I tend to agree with as well. I do think the visual effects are better in the Unworthy. The good thing is they're all working together, and actually Erzuki and I were talking about this, that they both have strengths and weaknesses. If they could combine forces and you know what I mean, they could kind of get rid of all the weaknesses and buff up all the strengths, and I know they're doing a crossover, but I feel like it's still going to be a creative team does one episode, a creative team does another episode. I want everybody to come together on one episode, all the creatives behind the camera as well, and see what we get. And I think that would be something really
go to a completely different world that isn't Power Rangers, and then who is that? The immortal Red Fox jumps in and fights the Arbiter.
And then in the background, there's two guys going, oh! And it's you and me.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. I never stood in front of your green screen sweating for an hour and a half with you ever in my life.
Let's head up chat, and then we got to end because we're over an hour already, and we started late, and food needs to be had at my house.
Same here.
Agreed.
I choose the people over food, though. And you can quote me on that.
Aki Dragu says that's why it feels. Oh, better music. That's why it feels more hype. He's agreeing with me about Shattered Past.
The music is so good on Shattered Past.
Yeah,
I'll give it that. Shattered Past, the way.
But that's what I'm saying. You get the music from Shattered Past. You get the special effects from Unworthy.
Here's the thing.
You get a scene with Sam and the Green Ranger Tommy.
I know. Shattered Past does the music at the right time to get you hyped up. I get that. Unworthy has very ominous MCU kind of music where it's like, oh, something's building. It's not like lyrical.
Right.
It's just all instrumental.
It's not
like,
bad
whoop,
at all.
whoop.
It's not bad at all.
They're all great. Just watch them all, guys. I'm so
Now,
excited. Clearly, I'm so excited about all of these.
Here's the real question, though. Do we want to do another studio's fan films next week? And if so, is there any that compares to these? Because I feel like most of them are like a one-off or a two-off.
I would watch the Zordon Origin movie.
We'll table it. We'll talk offline and see if it's worth looking at another one. Because I also worry that if this is the pinnacle, anything we watch after this is going to be disappointing.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, we'll think about it. You guys, as always, feel free to say something in the YouTube comments or the Facebook page or wherever. I'll put the links up again. Let your voice be heard. There's my Etsy page if you want to buy any of my Power Rangers art or Godzilla or whatever.
Yep.
Let's see.
One
Matt
thing
Claire
I want
says
to
they
say,
remember Galador, but not that
nice.
well since it's been so long. What's one thing you want to say?
I honestly thought going into this, before you started watching them, because I had watched them and then said, hey, this is a great idea. I thought you were going to feel the same way about Unworthy that I did. And today I learned that we both like it just differently.
Right.
So that's why I think if we look at anything else, we will also have differences of opinion.
Absolutely agreed. Absolutely. And again, I like Unworthy, especially by the time we get to episode 3. I'm on board. It just took me a little while to warm up. Dahlia Girl, you are quite welcome. Thanks everybody for coming and hanging out in the chat
thanks,
live.
guys.
Thanks if you're watching it later on YouTube or whenever you see it for the likes and this kind of stuff. And we love feedback of any kind. And we may or may not do more fan films next week, but we will be back next week with something. As always, I have been Gazbot.
I, as far as I know, am still the big Dawg Defender.
Should we to the power?
To the power.
Okay.
See you guys later.
Thanks everybody. Bye.
It wouldn't be an action activated 2020. Didn't talk credits. I feel like
have you watched the end credits?
More than
have you watched them when we talk over? Because it's really hard to hear. Kind of get mumbled. Like certain things will stick out, but it's sort of like here, mumble, mumble, mumble. Right, I agree. Mumble, mumble, and then towards the end the music fades out. You can hear it, but it's almost like you got to be super hardcore to try to figure out like exactly what's being said. Oh look,
well that makes me like it even more. Oh, what's that? Oh, there it is.